You lay down too warm tonight, turning from one side to the other, unable to find a single comfortable place. That heat isn't a flaw in you. Every evening your body works to cool itself before sleep, quietly letting warmth leave through your hands and feet. So why do those two far corners of you hold the key that opens your gate to sleep? Here is the part that turns things around. Warming your hands and feet is what cools the center of you, and the warmer those edges grow, the faster the core can let its heat drift away. Welcome to Sleepy Science. Sleep doesn't arrive because you reach for it. It arrives when the warm center of you finally begins to fall. Let the warmth pool softly in your palms and the soles of your feet, carrying the day's heat out to the surface and away. The answer begins in the quiet machinery of your own temperature, in the first small drop that tells the brain the day is done. There is a particular kind of night when the body feels too warm to rest. You lie still, shift the pillow, turn again, and sleep keeps its distance. Long before we understood why, people sensed that falling asleep had something to do with cooling down. Modern sleep science has confirmed the link. The body only begins to release sleep as its inner temperature quietly falls. Beneath everything we will follow tonight sits one gentle question. Why do the hands and the feet, of all places, seem to hold the key that opens the gate to sleep? The answer lives in the slow, invisible way the body sheds its warmth into the dark. It is a movement most of us have felt but rarely noticed. Your body is not one steady temperature through the day. It rises and falls on a gentle rhythm, a slow curve that repeats itself every 24 hours. In the late afternoon and early evening, your inner temperature reaches its daily high. Then, as night approaches, it begins to slide downward. This rhythm is set deep in the brain by an inner clock, and it runs whether you notice it or not. Even the familiar number, often given as 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, is really just an average of a moving figure. The truth is that your warmth is always drifting, always keeping time with the turning of the day. To fall asleep with ease is, in part, to move with this quiet tide rather than against it. In the hours before sleep, something shifts in the body's chemistry of warmth. The inner temperature, which climbed through the busy afternoon, begins a slow and steady decline. This evening, cooling is not caused by the cold air of the room. It comes from within, guided by the same inner clock that tracks the day. As the light fades and the hours grow late, the body reads the change and starts to let its heat go. This gentle fall in temperature is one of the earliest signs that the body is preparing for rest. Long before your eyes feel heavy, your warmth has already begun its quiet descent towards sleep. A slow letting go that unfolds beneath your notice while you go about the evening. The drop in inner temperature is small, yet its timing matters more than its size. Across the evening and into the night, core warmth falls by roughly 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit. That may sound like very little, but the body is finely tuned to it. Researchers have found that sleep tends to arrive right around the steepest part of this decline, the moment when warmth is falling fastest. It is as though the brain waits for a signal written in temperature, and only then loosens its hold on wakefulness. The falling curve and the moment of drifting off are closely linked. Two hands of the same quiet clock moving together in the dark. A degree or two, gently released, is enough to open the whole night. There are, in truth, two temperatures to your body, not one. The first is core temperature, the warmth held deep inside, around the heart, the lungs, the brain, and the other inner organs. The second is skin temperature, the warmth at the surface where your body meets the air. These two do not always move together. The core stays carefully guarded, held within a narrow range, so the inner machinery keeps working smoothly. The skin, by contrast, is free to shift with the room, the blankets, and the body's own quiet adjustments. To understand how sleep and warmth are linked, it helps to hold both of these in mind. The deep warmth at the center, and the changeable warmth out at the edge. The body protects its core warmth with remarkable care. Deep inside, the organs work best within a narrow band of temperature, and the body spends much of its energy keeping that band steady. When you grow too warm, the body finds ways to release heat. When you grow too cold, it works to hold heat in. This steady inner warmth is what allows the heart to beat evenly and the mind to think clearly through the day. Yet, at night, the body loosens this grip, just slightly, and allows the core to cool. That small, permitted cooling is not a failure of the system. It is part of the design, a nightly easing that helps sleep begin, a gentle loosening of the body's usual vigilance over its own heat. Deep within the brain sits a small region that acts as the body's thermostat. It is called the hypothalamus, and though it is no larger than an almond, it quietly governs your inner warmth. Like the thermostat on a wall, it holds a set point, a target temperature the body aims to keep. When your warmth drifts above that point, the hypothalamus calls for cooling. When it drifts below, it calls for heat. You never feel it working, and you never give it an instruction. It simply reads the body from the inside and adjusts, moment by moment, all day and all night. This little region, tucked beneath the deeper folds of the brain, is where the story of temperature and sleep truly begins. The thermostat inside your brain does not hold a single fixed number. Its target shifts gently across the day, following the body's inner clock. In the daytime, the set point sits a little higher, keeping you warm and alert for the hours of activity. As evening comes, the hypothalamus lowers its target, and the body begins to cool toward the new, softer setting. This lowering of the internal thermostat is one of the quiet gestures that opens the door to sleep. Nothing about it feels sudden. You simply notice, perhaps, that the day's heat has left you. Behind that feeling is a small region in the brain turning its dial down, unbidden, preparing the body for the long stillness of night ahead. If you could watch your temperature over a full day, you would see a gentle wave. It climbs to its highest point in the late afternoon or early evening, then slides downward through the night. The lowest point usually arrives in the small hours of the morning, a little before you would naturally wake. This is why the pre-dawn hours can feel so deeply cold and so deeply still. Your body has reached the bottom of its nightly curve. Then, as morning nears, the temperature begins to rise again, gently lifting you back toward waking. The whole cycle repeats each day, a slow tide of warmth rising and falling in time with the turning world, older than any clock you have ever owned. There is a quiet turning point each evening that few people ever notice. For much of the day, your inner warmth has been climbing or holding near its peak. Then, at some hour in the evening, the curve bends and begins to fall. Sleep scientists sometimes think of the couple of hours before this fall as a kind of gateway, a window when the body is not yet ready to cool, and sleep resists coming. Once the temperature begins its true descent, though, the gate eases open. The body softens, the mind slows, and rest becomes far easier to find. Learning to move with this turning, rather than against it, is quietly part of the art of falling asleep with ease. Think back to a night when the room felt too warm to bear. You pushed the covers aside, turned the pillow to its cooler face, and still sleep would not settle over you. That restlessness was not a lack of tiredness. It was your body struggling to complete the very cooling that sleep depends on. When the surrounding heat is too great, the inner temperature cannot fall as it wishes to, and the brain keeps waiting for a signal that never quite arrives. The tossing and turning, then, is not stubbornness or some flaw in you. It is the body searching, almost patiently, for a way to release its warmth so that rest can finally begin. Understanding this can soften the frustration of a warm and wakeful night. Warmth that lingers too long is one of the quietest thieves of sleep. On a hot night, the body tries again and again to shed its heat, but the air around it offers nowhere for that heat to go. The core stays a fraction too high, and the falling curve that leads to sleep flattens out. This is why a cooler room so often feels like relief. It gives the body an easy path to release its warmth, so the inner temperature can slide down as it was meant to. Sleep, in this sense, is less something you chase and more something you allow, by letting the body cool in its own gentle time. A room a few degrees cooler can do more than an hour of trying. The moment you drift off is not chosen by the clock on the wall alone. It follows, closely, the falling line of your inner temperature. When researchers track people through the evening, they see the same pattern again and again. Sleep tends to come as the core is cooling most steeply. Try to sleep hours before that fall begins, and the body resists, still holding its daytime warmth. Wait until the cooling is well underway. and rest arrives almost on its own. Your sense of sleepiness, in other words, is partly a reading of your own temperature. The body knows when it has cooled enough, and it lets you know in the soft language of heavy eyes and slowing thoughts. In a way, the sleeping brain is listening for a change it can feel from the inside. It waits for the inner temperature to fall past a certain point, and this falling seems to act as a kind of permission. Only when the core has cooled enough does the brain fully release its grip on wakefulness and let sleep flow in. This is one reason sleep cannot simply be willed into being. The body follows a signal written in warmth, not in effort. When the temperature is right, sleep comes easily. When it is not, no amount of trying quite replaces it. To sleep well is partly to trust this slow inner signal and let it do its work, rather than reaching for rest with a tired and impatient mind. As evening deepens, another quiet change unfolds alongside the cooling. The brain begins to release melatonin, often called the hormone of darkness, as the light around you fades. Melatonin and the fall in temperature move together through the night, two parts of the same gentle preparation for sleep. As one rise, the other tends to fall, and the body reads both as signs that the time for rest has come. We will not follow the full path of this hormone tonight. It is enough, for now, to notice that cooling does not happen alone. It travels in the company of darkness and of the slow chemistry of evening, all of it turning the body softly, steadily, toward sleep. Here is a gentle puzzle at the heart of tonight's story. As the inner core of the body cools towards sleep, the surface of the skin often grows warmer, not cooler. Reach for your own hands and feet late in the evening, and you may find them warm to the touch. This is not a contradiction, though it can seem like one. The warmth you feel at the surface is heat leaving the body, carried outward to the skin where it can slip away into the air. The core cools precisely because the surface warms. To lose heat, the body first brings it to the edge, and that quiet movement of warmth toward the skin is where the hands and feet begin to enter the story of sleep. Not all skin behaves the same when it comes to warmth. The hands and the feet are special in this regard, set apart from the skin of the chest or the back. They hold an unusual richness of small blood vessels near the surface, and a large area of skin for their size. This makes them well suited to one particular task, letting heat escape. Where a stretch of skin on the torso releases warmth slowly, the hands and feet can release it quickly. In the language of the body, they are built to be openings, places where inner heat can find the surface and leave. It is no accident that they sit at the far ends of you, out in the open air, waiting to do this work. Think of the hands and feet as the body's radiators. In a house, a radiator is where warmth is deliberately released into a room. In the body, the hands and feet are where inner heat is released into the night. As the evening cooling begins, more warmth flows toward these far edges, and from there it drifts away into the air. You can sometimes feel this happening, a spreading warmth in the palms and soles just as sleep begins to approach. Far from a sign of being too hot, this warmth at the extremities is a sign that the body is doing exactly what it does before rest. The radiators have opened, and the core, unburdened of its heat, has begun to cool. Many people, without ever knowing why, sleep with one foot outside the blanket. It is a small habit, often half noticed, yet it rests on real physiology. By leaving the feet uncovered, you give the body an easy way to release heat through one of its finest radiators. The core can cool a little faster, and sleep can come a little sooner. On a warm night, this simple gesture can be the difference between restlessness and rest. There is a quiet wisdom in it, the body reaching for balance on its own, without being taught. The next time a foot slips free of the covers in the dark, you might recognize it as your body opening a window to let its warmth escape into the cool air. Warm hands and warm feet at bedtime are often a welcome sign. They suggest that heat is flowing freely toward the surface, and that the body's cooling is well underway. People who fall asleep quickly tend to have this warmth in their extremities as they settle down. The heat gathering in the hands and feet is not the body overheating, it is the body releasing, sending warmth outward so the core can drop. In this light, a pair of cozy feet under the covers is not a distraction from sleep, but a quiet invitation to it. The warmth you feel at the edges is the very same warmth leaving the deep center, gently clearing the way for rest to arrive. For some, the hands and feet stay stubbornly cold at night, and sleep can feel harder to find. When the extremities remain cool, it may mean that less heat is reaching the surface to be released. The core then cools more slowly, and the body's path towards sleep grows longer. This is one reason a warm bath or a pair of soft socks can help on a cold evening. They coax warmth back toward the hands and feet, so the releasing can begin. The details of how this works will come later in our journey. For now, it is enough to notice a simple pattern. Warm edges tend to open the way to sleep, while cold edges can quietly hold it at bay a little longer. There is a gentle difference in warmth between the deep center of the body and its far edges. During the day, when you are alert, the core runs warm and the hands and feet often run cooler. As night approaches and sleep draws near, this difference narrows. The edges warm as the center begins to cool. This closing gap is one of the clearest outward signs that the body is turning toward rest. You do not require any instrument to sense it. You can feel it in the spreading warmth of your own hands as the evening settles around you. The body is quietly rearranging its heat, moving warmth from the core to the surface, preparing the way for sleep in a language older than words. Something in tonight's question has quietly begun to turn. We started by asking why the hands and feet might hold the key to sleep, as if the answer lay in the extremities themselves. Yet the pattern taking shape points somewhere deeper. The falling core temperature is what sleep truly follows, and the hands and feet may simply be how the body brings that fall about. The key, it seems, is less a place than a passage, a way for warmth to leave What began as a question about the extremities is becoming a question about release, about how and where the body lets its heat go. That is the path the coming hours will follow, slowly and gently, one soft fact at a time. Step back, and a simple picture comes into view. The hypothalamus, the small thermostat in the brain, lowers its target as night falls and calls for the body to cool. The hands and feet, the body's radiators, answer that call by letting warmth escape into the air. Between them, the inner core begins its slow descent, and sleep waits at the bottom of that fall. Thermostat and radiators, center and edge, all working in quiet cooperation toward a single end. None of it asks for your attention or your effort. The system runs on its own each evening, an old and steady arrangement of the body. To understand sleep, we are really coming to understand this gentle machinery of warmth and its patient release. So we arrive at the edge of the first part of our journey with the outline of an answer taking shape. Sleep does not begin on command. It begins when the body's inner temperature falls, and the brain, reading that fall, opens the gate to rest. The hands and feet stand near that gate, quietly releasing the warmth that lets the core come down. Yet a deeper question remains, still unanswered in these opening facts. How, exactly, does the body send its heat rushing out to the hands and feet at just the right hour? What opens those far passages when the time for sleep draws near? That is where the next part of our journey gently begins to lead us. You have been with us for a while now, and your breathing has likely softened without you noticing. A soft subscribe helps another restless mind find this quiet cooling too. Now, let us pause together, one sleepy soul at a time. Right now, in the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet, a warmth is gathering that was not there an hour ago. You did not send it there. The body has been moving heat toward its edges since you lay down, opening the way for the deep center to cool. The question we just left open, how the body sends warmth to the hands and feet at the right hour, is not happening far away. It is happening in you, at the ends of your own limbs. Feel the faint heat in your fingers. That is the gate beginning to open. Let one slow breath move through you, and let the warmth keep leaving. The cooling begins with a widening. As evening deepens, the small blood vessels running just beneath the skin of your hands and feet quietly relax and open wider than they were all day. This opening is called distal vasodilation, and it is the body's way of turning its edges into open channels. When those vessels widen, more warm blood from the center can flow outward toward the surface. The hands and feet, so often cool and closed during a busy day, become soft, warm gateways in the hour before sleep. Nothing about this asks for your attention. The vessels simply loosen, and the warmth of you begins to travel where it could not go before. Your palms and the soles of your feet are built for exactly this task. The smooth, hairless skin there holds a dense web of tiny vessels called arteriovenous anastomoses, direct shortcuts that link the incoming arteries to the outgoing veins. Most of your skin does not have these shortcuts, but your hands and feet are rich with them. When they open, blood can move to the surface in far greater volume, like side gates swinging wide to let a crowd flow through at once. This is why the far corners of you, and not your chest or back, carry so much of the evening's cooling work. The design sits waiting in the quietest parts of your body. Once the warm blood reaches the surface, it does something simple and ancient. It lets go of its heat. Warmth always drifts from a warmer place toward a cooler one, and the air around your resting body is cooler than the blood inside you. So heat leaves your skin steadily, radiating outward into the room the way warmth rises from sun-warmed stone after dusk. Your hands and feet become gentle radiators, glowing with heat you cannot see. Every bit of warmth that leaves the surface is warmth no longer held in your core. The center of you cools not by force, but by quietly releasing what it no longer carries. The hands and feet give away far more heat than their small size would suggest. Though they make up only a modest part of your body, their rich surface vessels and their distance from the warm center let them shed heat out of proportion to their share of you. Think of them as the thinnest edges of a warm pool, the places where heat escapes fastest into the surrounding cool. Blood arrives warm, spreads thin beneath the skin, releases its heat, and returns cooler toward the middle of you. With each slow loop, a little more of the day's warmth is carried out through these two far corners and quietly let go into the night. Scientists have found a way to read this cooling as it happens, by comparing two temperatures at once. They measure the warmth of your hands and feet against the warmth of your chest and belly, and the difference between them is called the Distal-Proximal Gradient. When your edges are cooler than your center, the gradient is low, and heat is still held inside. When your hands and feet grow warmer than your trunk, the gradient rise, and it means the gates have opened and heat is flowing outward. This single number, the gap between your warm edges and your cooling core, quietly tells the story of whether your body is preparing to sleep. This gap between edge and center turns out to be one of the clearest signs of how soon sleep will come. In careful studies, the warmer a person's hands and feet grew relative to their core, the more quickly they drifted off. The rising gradient came first, and sleep followed close behind, as if the widening of those small vessels were the true opening act of rest. It is a gentle reminder that sleep is written in temperature long before it is felt as drowsiness. Your body announces its readiness, not with a thought or a yawn, but with warmth quietly gathering in your palms and the soles of your feet. Here lies the quiet paradox at the heart of the night. Warm hands and warm feet do not mean your whole body is heating up. They mean the opposite. Heat is leaving the center, pouring out through open vessels at the edges. The warmth you feel gathering in your extremities is heat in transit, on its way out of you and into the room. So the warmer your hands and feet become in the hour before sleep, the cooler and calmer your core is growing underneath. To warm the edges is to cool the center. The two far corners of you are not holding heat in. They are letting it out. This is why a warm bath an hour or two before bed can help sleep arrive more softly. Warming the skin might seem like the wrong move for a cooling body, yet it opens those surface vessels wide and coaxes blood to the edges. When you step out, the warmth that rose to your skin now flows away quickly into the cooler air, and your core temperature dips a little lower than before. The bath does not heat you into sleep. It opens the gates, so heat can leave afterward. The gentle drop that follows the warmth is what the sleeping brain has been waiting for all evening. The same quiet logic explains why some people fall asleep faster with warm socks. Slipping warm socks onto cool feet widens the vessels there and invites blood to the surface, opening one of the body's main escape routes for heat. Warm feet become better radiators, not worse ones, and the core is free to release its warmth through them. For hands and feet that tend to run cold, this small kindness can be the difference between vessels held shut and vessels swung open. It seems backward that warming your feet could cool your center, yet the cooling depends entirely on those far gates being open in the first place. None of this happens at random. Your body carries a daily temperature rhythm, a slow rise and fall that repeats roughly every 24 hours. Through the day, your core runs a little warmer, reaching its peak in the late afternoon or early evening. Then, as night approaches, it begins its long, gentle descent, easing downward by around a degree or two before the deepest hours. This falling curve is not caused by sleep. It comes before sleep and helps invite it. Your temperature has been quietly sliding downward for hours before you ever lie down, following a rhythm laid down long before you were born, tuned to the turning of day into night. That long descent does not stop when you close your eyes. Your core keeps cooling through the night, reaching its lowest point in the small, dark hours before dawn, well after you have fallen asleep. Then, as morning nears, it begins to climb again, warming you gently back toward waking. So the coldest moment of your whole day arrives while you are deepest in sleep, unaware of it. The evening opening of your hands and feet is only the beginning of this fall. The vessels that widen at bedtime start a cooling that carries on quietly for hours, settling to its lowest in the stillest part of the night. Deep in the brain sits a small cluster of cells that keeps this rhythm in time. Behind your eyes, above the crossing of the optic nerves, lies the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a master clock no larger than a grain of rice. It reads the light of day and the dark of evening and uses them to set the timing of your falling temperature. As light fades, it sends its quiet signals outward, telling the vessels of your hands and feet when to open and the core when to begin its descent. This tiny timekeeper links the sky outside to the warmth inside you, matching your cooling to the slow turning of the day. As darkness falls, that same clock releases a messenger into the blood. The pineal gland, guided by the suprachiasmatic nucleus, begins to pour out melatonin, the hormone of biological night. Melatonin does more than soften you toward drowsiness. It reaches the small vessels of your hands and feet and helps them widen, easing warm blood toward the surface. In this way, the hormone of the dark and the opening of your edges become one and the same turning. The question that opened this hour begins to answer itself. The hands and feet hold the key because the tide of night is the hand that turns it. And where that tide leads next is the slow falling of the core. This nightly tide has its own gentle timing. In the hours after dusk, as indoor light dims, melatonin quietly begins to rise. An event so reliable that scientists use it to mark the true start of a person's biological evening. Not long after it rises, the hands and feet grow warmer, the surface vessels having opened to its signal. You can sometimes feel this yourself, the faint warmth spreading into your palms and toes as the evening settles. That warmth is the visible edge of an invisible tide. The outward sign that night has begun inside you, hours before the deepest part of sleep arrives. And so, the simple act of slipping a foot out from under the blanket makes quiet sense. An uncovered foot meets the cooler air of the room, and its open surface vessels release their heat into that coolness more freely than a foot wrapped warm. It is a small window left ajar in the body's outer wall so heat can leave. Some people reach for warmth at the feet and some for coolness. Yet both do the same underlying thing, keeping the gates open so the core can go on falling. Whether warmed or bared, the feet remain what they have been all evening. The quiet release valve through which the day's heat finds its way out. The room has grown quieter around you now, and the heat that had you turning from side to side is finding its way out through your hands and feet. Let one slow breath leave you, unhurried. Feel how the edges of you have softened and opened, how the warmth is drifting off into the dark air without any effort of yours. We're moving gently through the body's own cooling together, in no hurry to arrive anywhere. Let's keep drifting, slowly. When your hands and feet turn cold, the gate you have been waiting for stays closed. Cold extremities mean the small blood vessels near the skin have narrowed, and narrowed vessels carry almost no warmth to the surface, with little heat reaching your palms and soles. Your core has no easy way to release its own, so it stays a little too warm to signal sleep. This is one reason some people lie awake with icy feet, wanting a rest that will not quite come. The far corners of you are not incidental to sleep. When they run cold, the whole cooling process slows and quietly waits. Circulation itself can hold the switch shut. The widening of those distal vessels is governed by your nervous system, and when the alert branch of it stays active, it keeps them narrowed instead. A racing mind, a late cup of coffee, the last traces of nicotine. Even a cold draft across bare skin can all keep the vessels tight. In that state, the hands and feet stay pale and cool, and the core cannot shed its warmth. The body is ready to cool, and yet something upstream keeps the radiator turned low. Poor circulation, whether from tension or from habit, gently delays the fall that sleep depends upon. the room around you can work against the very same process. When the air is too warm, the difference between your skin and your surroundings shrinks, and heat has almost nowhere to go. Your hands and feet may widen their vessels faithfully, yet the warmth they carry to the surface simply lingers there instead of leaving. Studies of sleep in heat find more time awake, lighter stages, and less of the deep and dreaming sleep that restores you. A hot room does not stop the switch from opening. It takes away the cool air the switch was built to use. The radiator works only when there is somewhere for heat to drift. A room that is too cold can block the gate from the other side. When cold air touches exposed skin, the body reads it as a reason to guard its core, and it answers by narrowing the very vessels in the hands and feet that release heat. The radiator closes to keep warmth in. So a chilled bedroom, or feet left bare against the cold, can leave the core unable to finish its gentle descent. It is a quiet contradiction. Too warm traps the heat, and too cold locks the vessels that would carry it away. The switch prefers a narrow band, cool air around warm edges. What matters most may not be the room at all, but the thin pocket of air held against your skin. Beneath the blankets, a small climate forms, and it is this microclimate, not the thermostat on the wall, that your body truly reads. Heavy bedding can trap warmth until the covers hold the very heat your core is trying to lose, and the cooling stalls. This is why slipping a single foot out from under the blanket can bring such quiet relief. That bare foot opens a window in the microclimate, letting a slow stream of warmth escape from one of your best radiators. The blanket and the body are always negotiating. It helps to be honest about what warming the edges truly does. It does not flip sleep on like a switch in a wall, however the promise of instant rest may sound. What it does is shorten the wait, helping the core begin its fall a little sooner and a little more smoothly. Sleep still arrives on its own quiet schedule, shaped by the hour, by light, and by the day behind you. Warming the hands and feet clears one obstacle from the path. It does not carry you down the path itself. The key opens the gate, and yet you still walk through it in your own unhurried time. The switch does not work the same in every body. With age, the evening drop in core temperature grows shallower, and the vessels of the hands and feet widen less readily than they once did. The cooling signal that once arrived clearly can become faint and slow. This is one reason older adults often find sleep lighter and more broken, drifting near the surface where the younger body once sank. The machinery is still there, still trying, only quieter now. A gate that swung open easily in youth may ask for a gentler, longer approach later, when the body's own temperature rhythm has softened with the passing years. For some who lie awake night after night, the pattern runs deeper than habit. People who live with long stretches of sleeplessness often show a core temperature that stays a little too high as bedtime nears, and hands and feet that warm less than they might. The radiator opens only partway, and the core lingers above the threshold where sleep begins. It is not that they are trying any less. Their bodies are simply slower to release the heat that carries the day away. The same gate stands before them. Only the hinge moves stiffly, and the falling that others take for granted becomes a nightly effort. Hormones tune the whole system, and when they shift, so does the switch. During the years around menopause, sudden surges of vasodilation can send waves of heat through the skin at the wrong moments, opening the radiator in bursts rather than in one gentle fall. A body that wanted to cool steadily is instead flooded with warmth, then chilled as it passes, and sleep fractures around each wave. The same vessels that quietly serve rest can, under changing chemistry, become a source of waking heat. It is a gentle reminder that the temperature gate is not a simple lever, but a living balance shaped by the body's inner tides. So the question we began with quietly turns. We asked why the hands and feet hold the key that opens the gate to sleep. And we have found that they truly do. Faithfully, night after night. Yet we have also seen how many ways that key can be kept from turning. By cold, by heat, by a racing mind, by the passing years, by the body's own tides. The gate is real, and so is everything that can hold it shut. What the rest of the night follows, then, is not how the switch works, but what it takes to stop standing in its own way and let the falling begin. What just came clear, that the gate to sleep can be held shut by many small things. Maybe something you feel in your own body right now. Perhaps there is a warmth that will not quite settle, a restlessness in your hands or feet, a turning without ever arriving. There is nothing to solve. Notice where your body holds its heat, and where it already, quietly, tries to let it go. The palms, the soles, the slow work beneath your stillness, needing nothing from you. The rest of tonight follows this, not the machinery of the switch, but the soft letting go that lets it open. Let one breath leave slowly, and let a little of that warmth leave with it. Of all the small evening rituals, a warm bath asks the least and gives the most. You are not trying to scrub the day away so much as to prepare your body for its descent. Sink in, let the shoulders drop, and stay only long enough to feel the warmth reach your fingers and toes. Then let it work in its own time. Out of the water well before bed, and the heat you gathered slips away into the cooler air while you settle. What began as comfort becomes preparation. The first quiet gesture in a sequence your body will come to know. Researchers who study this call it the warm bath effect, and the timing matters more than the temperature of the water. Bathe too close to lights out, and your body is still shedding heat when you lie down. Give it that hour or two, and the core has already begun its descent by the time your head meets the pillow. The warmth you felt in the water becomes, a little later, a cooling that runs deeper. It is a small paradox. You warm the surface first, precisely so the center can cool when it counts. For anyone who finds a bath impractical, warm socks carry the same message in a simpler form. Choose them loose and breathable rather than thick and tight, so the feet warm without being smothered. Slip them on as the evening winds down, and let the soles grow warm while you read or dim the lights. Some sleepers keep them on. Others slide them off once the warmth has spread, leaving bare soles to meet the cool sheets. Either way, the feet have been coaxed awake as radiators, and the core is left free to begin its fall. The air around you plays its own part in this quiet exchange. A bedroom held at around 65 degrees gives your skin somewhere for its heat to go. Too warm, and the gradient flattens. The body carries warmth to the surface but finds no cooler air to accept it. Around 65. The difference is enough to keep heat flowing gently outward through the night. Many people sleep best a few degrees cooler than they expect. The room, in a sense, becomes the far side of the same circuit your hands and feet begin. This is where a single foot, slipped out from under the blanket, earns its reputation. The soles of your feet are unusually rich in the tiny vessels that release heat, and uncovering them opens a direct channel to the cooler room. Many people do this without knowing why, simply following comfort into a faster descent. What feels like a small fidget is really a valve, easing warmth out of the body's core. 1 foot out, and the gate your evening physiology has been reaching for quietly swings a little wider. The materials wrapped around you can either help this flow or quietly block it. Breathable fabrics like cotton, linen, and wool let warmth and moisture pass through, so heat keeps leaving even under the covers. Heavier synthetics can hold that heat against the skin, keeping the core warmer than the night wants it to be. The goal is never to be cold, only to let the body's cooling continue undisturbed. Good bedding works like an open window rather than a sealed jar, allowing the slow release your temperature rhythm quietly depends on. Your hands carry the same gift as your feet, and often go overlooked. The palms and the skin over your wrists are dense with heat-releasing vessels, which is why a hand left outside the blanket can cool you as surely as a foot. On a warm night, resting your hands on top of the covers gives the body 2 more open surfaces to work with. It is a quiet kind of cooperation, letting the extremities do what they are built to do, rather than tucking every warm surface away out of habit. A warm foot bath offers a gentler version of the whole idea for anyone who wants it. Soaking the feet in comfortably warm water for a short while opens their vessels, floods the skin with blood, and starts heat moving outward before you ever reach the bed. When you dry them and lie down, that opened surface keeps releasing warmth into the room. It asks little: a basin, some water, a few minutes. Yet it speaks to the body in the language it already understands. Warm the edges, and the center can fall. Your body already schedules a cooling each evening, and the routine simply meets it there. As night approaches, the hypothalamus lowers its internal set point, and core temperature begins to ease down toward its overnight low. A bath, warm socks, a cooler room. Each works best when it arrives alongside this natural dip, rather than against it. Fighting the rhythm with a hot room or a late surge of heat only delays the descent. Working with it. You are not forcing anything, only clearing the path the evening was already trying to take. Slow breathing can join this process from the inside. When your exhale lengthens and softens, the calming branch of the nervous system takes over, and one of its quiet effects is to widen the vessels near the skin. Warmth begins to reach the fingers and toes, sometimes noticeably, as the body shifts out of its guarded, heat-holding state. Breath and temperature turn out to be linked through the same nervous pathways. A few unhurried breaths, and you are gently opening the very radiators that carry your core towards sleep. You can sometimes feel this happening if you pay soft attention. Take a few slow breaths, letting each exhale draw out a little longer than the one before, and a faint warmth may spread into your hands. That warmth is blood arriving at the surface, released there as the nervous system loosens its hold. It is the same widening a bath creates, only summoned from within by nothing more than the pace of your breathing. The body, given a calmer rhythm, quietly begins moving heat toward the edges where it can leave. There is an elegant pairing at the heart of all this. Warm edges, cool surroundings. Your hands and feet grow warm as their vessels open, while the room stays cool enough to accept the heat they shed. The steepness between the two, warm skin and cooler air, is exactly what lets your core keep falling. This is why a cold room with cold feet often fails. The vessels stay shut, and nothing moves. Warm extremities in cool air is the working combination. The gradient your falling temperature quietly rides towards sleep. Repetition turns this from a trick into a rhythm the body learns. The master clock in your brain reads the patterns you repeat. The same bath, the same dimming lights, the same cooling room at the same hour, and begins to anticipate them. Overnights, the evening temperature drop grows more reliable, arriving a little more readily each time. Consistency is what lets a routine become a signal. Done once, it helps. Done nightly, it teaches your physiology when to begin lowering the core, until the descent starts almost before you do. Dimming the lights in the last hour does more than soothe the eyes. As darkness deepens, the brain releases melatonin, and among its gentler effects is a nudge toward opening the vessels in the skin. Warm blood moves outward. Heat follows, and the core eases down. The same pathway, a bath or warm socks, travels, only lit from within by a hormone. Bright light near bedtime holds melatonin back, and, with it, this quiet widening. Softening the light lets the body's own chemistry begin the cooling you have been helping along. A few evening habits can quietly keep the core from falling. A late, vigorous workout, a hot meal close to bed, or a room left too warm, all add heat at the moment the body is trying to release it. None of this ruins sleep, but each asks the core to cool against a small headwind. Leaving a gap between heat and sleep gives the temperature rhythm room to work The point is not restriction, only timing. Letting the day's warmth settle before you ask your body to begin letting it go. Think of your blanket less as a fixed cover and more as a dial you can turn. On a cool night, wrapping fully keeps warmth close. On a warmer one, sliding a leg free opens a vent for heat to escape. Through the night, your body drifts through its own temperature stages, and small adjustments let the cooling continue at each one. Sleepers do this half-consciously. A foot out here, a shoulder uncovered there. Each movement is the body fine-tuning how quickly heat leaves, keeping the core on its gentle downward path. You can read this whole system by feel, without a single number. 1. Faintly tingling hands and feet as you settle in are a sign the vessels have opened and heat is on the move. The cooling is underway. Cold. Clenched feet suggest the opposite. Vessels shut. Heat trapped. The core still holding warm. The paradox in the title lives right here. Warm extremities are not a sign you are overheating. They are the very sign your center is beginning to cool. The body's quiet confirmation that the gate is opening. Oddly, the ease of your evening cooling begins in the morning. Bright light early in the day sharpens the whole temperature rhythm, deepening the contrast between your daytime warmth and your nighttime low. A well-anchored clock produces a more decisive evening drop, a steeper, cleaner descent when night arrives. Spend your mornings in dimness, and the rhythm flattens, its evening fall growing vague. So a smoother night can trace back to a brighter dawn. The routine that opens your gate at bedtime is quietly built across the hours before it. It helps to hold a gentle honesty about time. The core does not drop the instant a foot leaves the blanket. Heat moves slowly, and the descent unfolds over minutes, not seconds. The word instant, in the promise of quick sleep, is really the feeling of a body finally allowed to cool without obstruction. What the routine offers is not a switch, but a smoother slope. Given warm edges, cool air, and a little patience, the fall arrives. Not all at once, but sooner and more easily than a fought-for night. Each piece of this routine speaks the same quiet sentence to the body. It is safe to let heat leave now. The bath, the socks, the cooler room, the uncovered foot. Different gestures, one message, repeated night after night. They gather into a cue the body recognizes before you have finished performing it. This is how a set of small actions becomes a doorway. Not through any single powerful step, but through a familiar sequence the physiology has learned to answer, opening its vessels the way it once opened only to darkness. You can fold two of these into one simple practice. Lie down with your feet free of the blanket, or warmed and then uncovered, and let your breathing slow. Each exhale a little longer, a little softer than the last. The breath opens the vessels from within. The bare soles give the released heat somewhere to go. Together they work faster than either alone, warmth reaching the edges and leaving through them in the same unhurried span. It is a small pairing, easily done, and it asks nothing more than to breathe and let go. There is a quiet relief in learning that sleep is not something you produce. The falling temperature, the opening vessels, the released heat, none of it answers to effort or willpower. Your part is only to remove the obstacles. The hot room, the trapped feet, the racing evening. Once the path is clear, the body leads, following a descent it has made every night of your life. Trying harder rarely helps here. Setting the conditions and then allowing the process to unfold turns out to be the gentler and the more reliable way in. Sleep scientists have a measure for how ready the body is. The difference between the warmth of your hands and feet and the warmth of your chest. When the extremities grow warmer than the core, that gap widens. And it turns out to be one of the closest bodily signs of how soon sleep will come. You cannot read it on a clock, but you can sometimes sense it. Warm fingers, warm toes, a cooling center. The routine you follow is, in the end, a way of widening that quiet gap on purpose. Step back, and every piece of the routine collapses into a single aim. The warm bath, the socks, the cool room, the foot slipped free, the lengthening breath. All of them exist to do one thing: help heat leave the center of your body. They are different doors into the same room. Understood this way, the routine stops feeling like a checklist and becomes one gesture, repeated in several forms. You are not managing sleep from many angles. You are helping warmth move outward and letting the falling core carry you the rest of the way. Here is what the night has been assembling, fact by fact. Sleep does not arrive because the hour grows late or the mind grows tired. It follows the body's core temperature as that warmth falls. And the core cannot fall on its own. It needs an exit. Your hands and feet are that exit, the release valves through which the day's heat leaves. This is why they hold the key the whole hour has been asking about, not by relaxing you, but by opening. Sleep is not a slowing the body performs. It is a cooling the body follows. Right now, without any instruction from you, the warmth is already moving toward the edges of you, the hands resting at your sides, the feet at the end of the bed. The vessels there have opened, and the heat you gathered through the day is quietly leaving through them. You are not the one guiding it. The turning, the searching for a cooler spot. You can let that settle now. The cooling knows its own way down. Everything the hour has circled is close, gathering into one soft descent. Let your breath lengthen once more, and let the heat go where it is already going. Everything the night has shown you happens without your watching. The warmth slips from your palms and the soles of your feet whether or not you notice it leaving. The center of you cools on a schedule older than memory, and you were never the one running it. Tonight you can set down the watching and let the quiet machinery do what it has always known how to do, on its own, in the dark. Sleep has never come to those who chase it. The harder the reaching, the more the body stays warm and awake. But there is another way. and it asks nothing of you. Let your hands lie open. Let the heat find its own path to the surface. The falling begins the moment the trying ends, the way a held breath finally softens when you simply stop holding it. Your hands are two small radiators, warm at the edges so the core can grow cool. All evening they have carried heat away from the center of you, quietly, without being asked. You can trust them now. There is nothing to arrange, nothing to fix. Let them rest wherever they have settled, and let the warmth they release be the first thing that carries you gently down. A foot slipped free of the blanket is a small act of release. The night air meets the warm soul, and the heat that gathered there drifts off into the room. It looks like nothing. It is the body opening a window. You can let one foot find the cool edge of the bed and feel how quickly the whole of you begins to soften once the warmth has somewhere to go. The center of you is falling now, a degree or two, the way the light falls at the end of a long day. This drop is not something to make happen. It is already underway, gentle and sure. Each small fraction the core lets go, the deeper sleep draws near. You can rest inside that falling, trusting it the way you trust the evening to arrive without any help from you. The warmth leaving your skin is not something lost. It is heat finding its way home, out through the surface and into the wider quiet of the room. Your body has been giving it away all evening, softly, without regret. You can give it away too. Let the day's warmth rise from you and disperse, and feel how much lighter the center becomes once it stops holding on. There is nothing left for you to do. The switch has already turned. The vessels in your hands and feet have widened on their own. The core has begun its slow decline, and the brain has read the falling temperature as the sign it was waiting for. You can lie here and let it unfold. The whole gentle sequence continues just the same, whether you watch it or finally let go. The thermostat inside you keeps its own quiet time. Deep in the brain, it lowers the setting each night without asking, guiding the warmth outward and the core downward. It has done this every evening of your life. You can lean on that faithfulness now. There is no dial for you to turn, no setting to adjust. The one within has already chosen cool, and it is carrying you there. Warm hands, cooling center. That small difference is the body's oldest signal for sleep. Tonight, the difference is widening on its own, the edges glowing faintly while the core slips lower. You do not create it. You only allow it. Let the warmth stay in your palms and the cool gather at your center, and let that gentle gap open the way it always has, quietly, beneath your notice. This cooling is older than you, older than language. Every human who ever slept has drifted down the same falling curve of warmth. Tonight, you join them, one more body letting its heat rise and its center quiet. There is comfort in how ordinary it is. You can release yourself into a rhythm that has carried countless others into the dark, and let it carry you the very same way. A blanket is only an agreement with your own warmth. Enough to feel held. Not so much that the heat has nowhere to go. Your feet know the balance. They slip toward the cool when the core runs warm, and draw back when it has fallen far enough. You can trust that small wisdom tonight. Let your body find its own edge between warm and cool, and settle wherever it feels right. As the dark deepens, a quiet messenger moves through you, widening the vessels at your edges and easing the warmth outward. It arrives on its own each night, tuned to the fading light. You gave it no instruction. You can simply receive it. Let the softening it brings reach your hands, your feet, your face, and let the center of you grow cool beneath its gentle, unasked for help. You can trust the switch without ever understanding it. A child falls asleep knowing not a single word of any of this. Warm palms, falling core, the brain reading the drop. The knowing was never the point. Tonight, you can let the understanding rest too, and simply be a warm body cooling in the dark, carried down by a mechanism that asks no belief from you. The cool of the room is part of you now. The place your warmth is quietly going. Air a little cooler than your skin lets the heat lift away and keeps the core falling. You can let the room do its slow work. There is nothing to manage, no temperature to chase. Rest in the gentle exchange between your warmth and the cooler air, and let it draw you further down. Notice how the cooling and the heaviness arrive together. As the core lets go of its warmth, the limbs grow slow and dense, sinking toward the bed. This is the body handing you over to sleep, 1 degree and 1 breath at a time. You can let the heaviness in. Let your hands stay warm and open. Let the center grow cool, and let the whole of you settle where it lies. There is no hurry in any of this. The core falls slowly, over minutes, not moments, the way warmth always leaves a thing gently. You can match that slowness now. Let each breath grow a little longer, each thought a little farther from the last. The falling does not race, and neither do you. Simply drift alongside your own cooling, unhurried, as the gate to sleep swings quietly open. On the nights the heat kept you turning, it was never a failing of yours. The switch can be slowed by many things, and it will not be rushed. But it always returns. Tonight it has returned. You can forgive every restless hour that came before, and let this evening be the one where the warmth finally finds its way out and the center of you is allowed to fall. Somewhere in the dark your hands are faintly glowing with warmth, and your feet, and the whole surface of your skin, all of it releasing the day. If you could see the heat, you would watch it rise from you like mist off warm ground at dusk. You can picture it leaving, softly and without end, and feel the cool that arrives in its place carry you nearer to sleep. You can stop keeping watch over your own sleep. The core does not fall faster for being observed. The vessels do not widen because you willed them to. Let the guarding go. Let your attention loosen from the edges of you and dissolve into the warmth of your palms, the cool of your center, the slow and certain falling that asks for nothing but your willingness to let it. Every night, your body makes the same quiet promise: to cool the center, to open the edges, to carry you down when the day is done. It has never once broken it. Tonight it is keeping the promise again. Warmth rising from your hands and feet while the core slips lower. You can rest on that certainty. Let the body keep its word, and let yourself be carried where it has always taken you. Let the cool be a place you sink into, not a thing you reach for. The center of you is already there, already falling, already soft. There is no last effort left to make. Warm hands, quiet core, a foot at the cool edge of the bed. This is the whole of it. You can let go of the reaching now and simply arrive where the cooling has been carrying you all along. The warmth is nearly gone from the center of you now, and with it, the last of the day. What remains is soft and low and slow. You can feel how little separates you from sleep. A breath, a degree, a final small release. There is nothing to hold. Let the warmth finish its leaving, and let the cool that stays behind close gently over you, like water settling over a stone. Two far corners of you, your hands, your feet, have carried you here, releasing the warmth so the center could fall. It seems a small thing for so large a gift. Yet this is how sleep has always come to you, quietly, from the edges inward. You can thank those far corners without a single word, and let the cool they made spread softly through the whole of you now. You are at the edge now, the core cool, the warmth given away, the switch fully turned. There is nothing left between you and the dark but your own willingness to fall. You can give it freely. Let the last of the warmth drift from your fingertips and the soles of your feet, and let the cool center of you tip, softly, over the quiet edge of sleep. You were never meant to force your way into sleep. You were meant to be let go, gently, from the warm edges of yourself inward, the way the day releases its heat into the coming night. Tonight you can trust that letting go, you are a warm and tired body, cooling in the dark, held by something older than any worry. Let the warmth leave. Let yourself be carried. You are already home. 100 facts ago, you were turning in the heat, certain the discomfort meant something had gone wrong in you. Now you know the two far corners you never thought about. Your hands, your feet, were the answer all along. We followed the warmth as it widened the vessels at your edges and slipped away through open palms. We watched a single foot leave the blanket and open a quiet window for the heat to escape. What began as restlessness became a slow, certain falling, the center of you cooling, exactly as it was built to. The gate to sleep was never something to force. Your brain waits for one quiet sign, the falling of your own warmth, and your hands and feet were always the ones giving it, night after night, without ever being asked. May these gentle facts about your own cooling have brought some ease to a warm and restless night. A soft like, subscribe, or share carries this quiet to another body still turning in the heat, still searching for the way down. One quiet tap, one peaceful night at a time. Right now, without any effort from you, the warmth is lifting from your skin, from your palms, your feet, the surface of your face, drifting out into the cool of the room. The center of you is falling, degree by degree, the way it has every night of your life. Let your whole body soften into that quiet cooling. You are not the one making it happen. You are only the warm and tired thing it is carrying, softly, down toward the dark. You can let these thoughts cool and settle now, like the last of the day's heat rising from your skin and vanishing into the dark room. Let your body grow heavy and still with the falling already underway. If sleep comes, let it carry you down the same gentle slope your warmth has traveled all evening. The Relaxing Body Science Facts to Fall Asleep To playlist keeps returning to this quiet territory, the place where the body knows how to release you. The next hour follows a different corner of that same wisdom. That hour is waiting whenever you are ready. And if the dark already feels warm and near, let yourself stay inside it. Rest well, warm one. Your body has always known how to let you go, where the body's own warmth becomes the way down into sleep. Good night.